everyone, it's Katie here from the Scrappy Sisters, and I am up with a special video today, and it's the 9th of the month, and on the 9th of every month, quite a few people are celebrating Christina and the Secret Not Secret Kit Club. So for those of you that don't know, Christina is the owner of Redefine Creative and the Secret Not Secret Kit Club, and the few people in the groups that she runs wanted to highlight her and the great work she does, and decided that the 9th of every month would be Celebrate Christina Month, or Day, sorry. So I am joining in, and what I'm actually creating is a layout using a cut file from Confessions of a Paper Addict, and it's actually following a challenge from the Secret Not Secret Kit Club that there's monthly crops that happen in the private Facebook group every month, and this is actually a challenge for the month of, I think it was September. And the challenge was from Sarah Scraps. I don't actually know if it's Sarah or Sarah. And her challenge, I'm just trying to find it, actually should have been more organised, wasn't. But her challenge was a fairy tale challenge. Oh no, it's the August. Sorry, I think it's the August one. And she provided a graphic of the Little Mermaid, and we were to use that as inspiration for a layout. And as soon as I saw that challenge, immediately I knew that this was a layout that I wanted to do. So let me just give you some context. If you're new to our videos, you may not be aware, but you probably are because I talk about it a lot. My son was born in January of this year, 2019, and he was born with a congenital birth defect called tracheoesophageal fistula and esophageal atresia. That's quite a long word. We call it TOF OA, and that's what he was born with. What it essentially means is that his esophagus wasn't connected to his stomach, so there was like a gap in the middle. So he had a little bit at the top and a little bit up from the stomach, but there was a gap in the middle where it should have connected, and instead the bottom of his esophagus was actually connected to his windpipe. So that was all a very confusing way to say my son was born unable to swallow, so he couldn't eat anything. And they found out, we didn't know that before he was born, but they found out within a couple of hours after his birth, because he was all mucousy, he wasn't swallowing anything, and they tried to pass a feeding tube down, and of course it couldn't go anywhere because the esophagus didn't go to the stomach. So that's how we found out. And he was taken to the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne and had surgery at 3 days old, and he was doing really well, and he did really well with the surgery. It was all pretty straightforward. It is a rare condition. I think it's about 1 in every 3,500 births. So I think in Melbourne they see around 20 babies with this condition a year. So it's rare but not completely unknown. So his esophagus was reconnected to each other and was disconnected from his windpipe. This was a really long-winded way of saying the little, you can't see it now because it's out of frame, but I'm scrapping 3 photos. One is actually an image that says, "I'm as rare as a mermaid. You can't catch my cough. I am loud, but I'm not sick. I was born unable to swallow." And somebody else in a group I'm in made these, and she actually prints them out as business cards to hand out to people. One of the symptoms of my son's condition is he coughs quite a lot. And people with this condition cough a lot because their windpipe has been damaged from having the esophagus attached to it. It's a lot weaker than others' windpipes, and they have what's called a TOF cough. It sounds like a real barking cough. I guess people would associate it maybe with whooping cough or croup. So I get asked all the time when I'm out and about, "Oh, your son's sick." No, he's not sick. He just coughs. You can't catch it. Don't worry. So that is what I'm scrapping. And then I had this cut file from Confessions of a Paper Addict and that challenge, and I was like, this is going to work amazingly. So my layout goes a few different ways. You missed me backing things, so that was fine. I'd already backed the cut file off camera. You just missed me backing my photos. And I've got this collection from the Reject Shop in Australia, but it's actually a collection from Rosie's Studio, which is a New Zealand company. I don't know what it's called. Clearly something about mermaids, because it is full of mermaid things. I'm just trying to find it. Knowing me, I probably can't, because I put everything away. Such a good girl, putting things away after I've used them. Otherwise my desk gets way too full. Here it is. So it is called Make a Splash. And it has a whole heap of mermaid things, but also water-based things. So there's shells and there's seaweed and fish and starfish and lots of things. And it's a super cute collection, actually. So I've got the 6x6 paper pad and a pack of ephemera. The thing I always forget about the ephemera, I don't know if it's Rosie's, it must be just from Rosie's Studio. It's called the Craft Stall in Australia, and it's sold by the Reject Shop, but it is Rosie's Studio product. They give you 2 of each ephemera piece, so you actually get a ridiculous amount of ephemera. It's just crazy. And so I should have bought 2 paper pads, because there's no way I will run out of paper well before I run out of ephemera. So I actually laid out all sorts of things on the page and decided that that was way too busy. So then I started playing with a design that sort of went down the bottom of the page and sort of kind of kept to the bottom of the page, I suppose. I cut out one of the specialty papers at the start that to me looks a bit like a splash. It's sort of blue with silver detail, and I fussy cut around it. And I had a couple of scrap bits of it too. My sister actually used quite a bit of this paper pad for a layout, so she had some scraps of that blue paper, and I fussy cut around those and wanted to use those as well. And so I've put those down the bottom, and I've added some seaweed and my photos and some shells and other elements, and then I put the card that says I'm as rare as a mermaid up in the top left, and I'm creating a little cluster around that as well. So I've just placed things on the page now. I haven't stuck anything down. I am going to do a couple of other things to this. So everything's going to come off, but essentially it's still going to look like this. And I'm really happy with the clusters and how I've got it all together. So I am going to end up sticking it down like that. However, there's another 2 elements that I decide I want to do first. So you can see some paper behind my photo now, and I'm taking everything off. And you can see it's a silver pattern design. So I end up deciding that I want to back or mount this layout onto a piece of specialty paper, and I do pick this one. So it's nautical themed. It has whales and seaweed and ships, and it's pink and blue and silver. So the Make a Splash collection from Rosie's Studio has silver elements, and so I knew that I had this paper in my stash, this pink and blue and silver one, and I thought, oh, I should use some of that, because I've never used it. It's very sparkly, this pattern paper. So that's why I'm not gutting the inside of it, because I know I'm not going to use it again. So that's okay. I'm just going to stick this straight down onto the layout without gutting it. So sorry to those people that are shuddering, but I have a lot of paper. I'm never going to use all my paper. So this is one way to get through it. So I'm going to stick that down. And I just really like the little pink and blue and silver pops that you get around the edge of the page now. So you can't really tell what the pattern is. You can sort of see some little elements to know that it is sort of water themed, but you can't get a lot of detail. And then I decided I wanted to put mist splatters on the layout. Actually, my sister suggested this because I sent her some photos of where my thinking was at, and she said you should center it around where the mermaid's going. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm using the navy Heidi Swap Colour Shine, the pink Heidi Swap Colour Shine, and then I've got a silver, it's actually an acrylic paint based spray, and it is from Marabou Art Spray, it's called. So that is what I have done. And I centered that, as I said, around where the mermaid is. And now I'm going to stick down the kind of bottom part that I had worked on. So it starts with the papers. Now I should have done this before I mounted my white cardstock onto the background paper, but I didn't, which means I had to have some careful cutting because I didn't want the wave or the splash pattern paper to go over the white cardstock, if that makes sense. I don't mind that my other elements end up kind of creeping over the white cardstock, but I didn't want that pattern paper, the wave or splash pattern paper, to go over the white cardstock. I just didn't really like that look. No other reason, I just didn't. So I'm kind of weirdly trying to cut it, but that's okay, it works. So now I'm placing the mermaid where I'm thinking I'm wanting it to go, and I'm actually going to again put down all my elements like I did last time and see how I go with placement before I stick everything down. Okay, so looking at my video now, I'm like, oh no, I don't just place everything down. Because I'd already put things on the page and was happy with where they were, I just went straight to sticking. Once I'd done my splatters and stuck down the splash wave paper, I also decided that I was going to put my photos flat onto the layout. So often I pop my photos up because I want those to be the focal point. But actually for this layout, I mean, yes, the photos are the focal point. They're actually photos of my son in two different time periods. So the one on the left, not that I've placed that down yet, that was when he was the day after he was born, and the one on the right, I think he is 5 months old maybe in that photo. So they're obviously quite a way apart time wise, but the whole layout was really just a celebration of him and his condition. So I didn't necessarily want the photos to be the focal point. I'm also planning on framing this layout and putting it on my wall in my craft room, and I knew I was going to do that, so that's why I don't mind it being so bright and colourful, because I kind of want people to look at it when they come in, and I want it to be there and, you know, remind me of celebrating how awesome my son is and how much he has overcome in such a short amount of time. So yeah, that's my soppiness for the day. Now I'm sticking down my photos because I knew, as I said, I wanted them to go flat, and I knew the mermaid cut file had to go over the top. And so now I am peeling off the backing tape. So I'd already done all of this off camera, sticking the fun foam on the back. I'm using fun foam because I found a whole stash of it that I haven't used, and I just want to get it used because I'm sick of not using things that I own. So I've stuck the mermaid down, and now I'm going to go back and stick on my other elements. So I have lots of things that I'm sticking down, and to be honest, on an iPhone screen it's very difficult to see everything. For those of you that make your own videos and edit on an iPhone, you'll understand my pain of not being able to see, because the silly voiceover recording bit goes over the top of your layout, which to me is the stupidest thing. Anyway, moving on, Katie, moving on. So yes, I'm sticking down lots of little elements. I'm working on the left-hand cluster. I just added a few fish, and I know I put some seaweed and some shells down in the bottom left as well. And I put a little words strip that says #inspirational, because why not? That works. And now I'm adding, I needed to add a little cluster in the middle of the mermaid, because you probably noticed, but my cut file didn't cut properly, didn't cut all of her scales out, and rather than recut it, I thought I can always cover that up, and so I did. And so I used a little piece that says "You were born to shimmer." I just thought that was cute. And I added a couple of starfish around that cluster as well. And now I've placed that I'm as rare as a mermaid card, and I'm going to stick that down. I just re-looked at making sure the placement worked now that I'd trimmed a little bit off of the white cardstock, and I was happy with it. And now I'm going to work on the little cluster. I'm still keeping it in the bottom left, and so it will overlap the mermaid's head a little bit, but I'm okay with that. So I add a starfish and a jellyfish and another starfish and a little fish, pink fish. And I do add a word strip here as well. And this one says #mermazing. How cute. And then I think I need to finish the cluster on the bottom right. Or have I already done that? Obviously I've already done that. Now I did sit on this layout for a day, and then I decided that I actually needed a subtitle or title, either way. I just wanted to use the small thickers in one of the Auburn Lane collections. I don't remember what these ones are called, but they're the pearly white ones with the white foam underneath. And my subtitle is Our TOF Warrior. So TOF is his condition, tracheoesophageal fistula, and that's what they shorten it to, TOF. So I just thought that was a cute little subtitle. So I added that onto the mermaid's fin, and then I thought that I might just add a few little starfish in her hair. So I do. And then I'm done. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've liked this video and a bit more insight, I guess, into my son's condition, which I didn't really mean to share, but I needed to explain explain the layout. And we will see you guys in our next one.